Hey guys, my name is Brian Skinner from secretsofsushi.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make professional sushi rice. Now when it comes to rice, there's two main types that I recommend. One of them is Tamaki Gold, and the second one is Tamanishiki Super Premium, both of which are short grain varieties of rice. It's important to note that you can use medium grain rice, but it will be slightly more difficult to use when trying to apply the rice to the nori. Also, it's a less starchy rice variety, so sometimes it doesn't clump together as easily. And I also want to make a note that you do not want to use any kind of jasmine rice. Jasmine rice could theoretically work if you prepared it in the same way as sushi rice, but it will be way more difficult to handle, and so it's just easier to go either a medium or a short grain rice, but short grain is preferred. Let's get to making the actual rice. Step number one is that you want to measure the amount of rice you want to use and put it into your rice bowl to wash. For this tutorial, I'm using 2 cups of short grain rice, or it's going to be 190 grams or 240 milliliters. So what you want to do is after you put the rice into the bowl, you want to take that over to your sink and you're going to rinse it repeatedly. Now what we're doing here is removing the starch, any kind of excess starch from the rice grains, and this comes from the milling process from removing the husks from each individual grain. So what you want to do is make a claw-like form with your hand, and you're going to use circular motions while rinsing with cold water. It's important to note that you don't want to rub the rice grains together because you might risk breaking the grain, thus releasing more starch. And you also want to use cold water, and that way we're not trying to pre-cook the rice before it actually goes into the rice cooker. So ideally, we want to rinse the rice until the water runs completely clear, but realistically, that's going to take about 9 or 10 rinses per 1 cup of rice. So since I'm using 2 cups of rice, I theoretically have to rinse my rice 20 times, but after about 5 or 6 rinses per 1 cup, you really start to not notice the quality differences per rinse. So I usually do between 3 and 5 rinses per 1 cup of rice. Or you can wash the rice until the water is just simply not as cloudy as when you first see it. After the rice has been washed, you want to add the proper amount of water to the rice before putting it into the rice cooker. So this is really easy to remember. You use 1 cup of water for every 1 cup of rice, or equal ratios if you're using the metric system. It's also important to note that you don't necessarily want to use the markings on the side of the bowl, because a lot of times the rice cooker will be sent with a proprietary measuring cup or a measuring cup from a different country that doesn't necessarily line up with the measuring cups that you're currently using. So one of the most common problems with people that email me from my website say that their rice is either undercooked or it's overcooked, or the grains are too hard, or they stick to the bottom, or it's inconsistent throughout. And that's because they're not using the proper amount of water per ratio of how much rice they're using, which is most commonly done because they're using, like let's say they'll put 2 cups of rice in the bowl and they'll fill it up to that 2 marker line, but it's a Japanese rice cooker, so the Japanese 1 cup measurement is going to be different than the US 1 cup measurement. So to be absolutely certain, just use the same measuring cup you used to put the rice in to add the water in as well. So once you have the rice and the water in the mixing bowl, or in the rice bowl rather, put that into your rice cooker, close the lid, and simply push start. You should see on the rice cooker that it goes from warm to cook, and it's going to take approximately 20 to 30 minutes to cook the rice, depending on the variety of rice cooker you know. Once the rice cooker has popped, which just means that it's gone back from cool to warm, let the rice sit for about 10 minutes. That way, the water inside that's still left inside the rice cooker will convert into steam and complete the cooking process throughout. This ensures you won't get any kind of crunchy rice grains. Okay, so now that we've waited for 10 minutes, now it's okay to open up the rice cooker. But be careful because there will be a lot of steam that comes out. And you want to use a dry towel to wrap around the rim of the rice bowl and carefully remove it from the rice cooker. Okay, now after you've removed the bowl from the rice cooker, you want to use a plastic or wooden spatula to get it slightly damp, and then you're going to put it in between the rice and the rice bowl and just basically do a simple ring around the bowl to separate the rice from the rice bowl itself. After that, you're going to flip it over into your wooden bowl, and you're going to scrape out any of the rice on the bottom that's still stuck. And be sure to be very careful, you don't want to smash any of the grains of rice when you do this step. Also, if anyone tells you that they have a way of making rice where the rice doesn't stick to the bottom of the bowl, they're lying to you. I don't care who you are, how long you're making sushi, rice always sticks to the bottom. There's a few pieces of equipment that you can use, that you can purchase on, like say Amazon for example, that will help you prevent rice from getting stuck, which is great if you're working in a sushi bar, if you're working in a professional or a commercial setting. But if you're just making sushi at home, it's kind of unnecessary. It's just an extra piece of equipment you have to buy and wash each time. Okay, so now that we have the rice put in our wooden bowl, it's called a hangiri traditionally, we want to add the rice wine vinegar. So what I do is I have my rice wine vinegar pre-made and set aside. All it is just simple rice wine vinegar, salt, and sugar. All mixed together over stovetop until everything dissolves and then brought back down to room temperature. So we want to use 2 tablespoons for 1 cup of rice, or 30 milliliters of rice wine vinegar per 190 grams of uncooked rice. And we're going to apply the rice wine vinegar to the rice using that wooden spatula or that plastic spoon that we have. And so we're going to measure out the tablespoons, and you want to sift the paddle back and forth over the rice while you slowly pour the rice wine vinegar over it. It's important that you do not directly pour the rice wine vinegar onto the rice, as that will just sink the rice wine vinegar all the way to the bottom of your bowl, and it won't get even distribution. So once you've applied your rice wine vinegar to all of your rice, you simply want to take that spatula and you want to kind of flip the rice, you want to turn it over a few times, and then you want to separate it into or evenly distribute it amongst the bowl using a slicing motion. You don't want to use a big stirring motion, you don't want to press down the rice at all because the rice grains are very soft at this point, and we want to make sure that we are maximizing the amount of surface area that we have in the bowl. Also, it's important to know that the reason why we use a flat bottom bowl that's made of wood is so that if we have any excess rice wine vinegar that isn't absorbed by the rice, then it will be absorbed by the bowl itself. And the flat bottom is utilized to maximize the amount of surface area we can get. And that's done for, again, 2 reasons. One is so that the rice will evenly release heat, and 2 is so that each grain of rice is more likely to absorb the rice wine vinegar. Okay, now that we have our rice that's been seasoned and it's been evenly distributed in our hangiri, we're going to let the rice sit for about 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes is up, we're going to come back and we're going to flip the rice, which means we're going to slide the spatula right underneath the rice, take it straight up, and flip it right over. The reason why we do it in this manner is so that we make sure that any of the vinegar that has collected at the bottom will now be flipped over and we'll have a chance to fall back down to the bottom again, thus redistributing that rice wine vinegar amongst all the grains. And it's also going to make sure that the bottom of the rice releases an equal amount of heat as the top of the rice. So go ahead and go through and flip all of your rice over. And then if there's any spaces or spots that are empty, you can use that same slicing motion to redistribute the rice evenly. After you flip the rice about 2 or 3 times, it should have released enough heat to come down to about body temperature, roughly 98 degrees. And that is when it's the ideal point to use that rice and serve it to your guests. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you like what you see and you're eager to learn more, click on the subscribe button below. That way you'll get email updates on every time a new video is released. Also, for more information on how to make sushi at home, including recipes that you can try today, visit my website, www.secretsofsushi.com. My name is Brian Skinner from secretsofsushi.com, and that's how I roll.